Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's 8 a.m. here in sunny Southern California. Happy to say the sun's out. We've had some fog, so woohoo. We're going to come right back. I'm going to be talking today about the 4 pillars of self-love. So stand by as let's get in the spirit here.
At work, I was constantly feeling anxious.
But I'm feeling much stronger and clearer about it all.
For me, one of the many aha moments was how to breathe.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I'm so grateful that you decided to spend your Monday morning with me. Some of you know this is the first time that I've actually done the show by myself. Normally I have a guest on, and I love interviewing people and learning about what their skill set and how they can help the audience that's watching the show. But today because of everything that's been going on here in the United States, I thought it was an appropriate time to talk about love. And if I was better at technical things here, I'd be playing All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, but that's a little too complicated for me at this point with the TV show. But anyway, it's important to make self-love as part of your routine. And today I'm actually going to give you some concrete steps that you can take away and use. I'm also going to be giving away some great prizes, so stick around until the end. And please share the link, womenshealthrevolutiontv.com, with a friend. This show is really based on your interest and demand, and I'm hoping that, this is the whole idea here is to help women with all kinds of things like self-confidence, moving forward as business people, moving forward just confidently in different aspects of their life. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. But ask yourself, I just wanted you to ask yourself, like, if you could just take a minute, if happiness was a currency, what would you be doing? And that's the question I want you to kind of weigh with. And you might, if you have a pen and paper, go get it and take some notes today, because I'm going to give you some really good nuggets that you can work with. And ladies, I'm just so happy to be with you. And just let me see what I can do to support you today. So a few people, the more you participate, you ask questions, or you post, the better the show is. And I would love to, if there's questions that you have while I'm speaking, or I go over something too quick, feel free to put something in the chat. I will have to check that periodically because there's so much going on here to watch when you're by yourself. I won't be constantly looking at it, but I will check the chat periodically. So anyway, you can look at the reruns on the show at womenshealthrevolutiontv.com. And if you want to, if you are one of the winners later, I'm just going to say this now, you can send an email to me at carla@womenshealthrevolution.com. And I will send you your gift. And depending on where you're located, there might be some restrictions, but I have some cool little giveaways today. So again, that's carla@womenshealthrevolution.com. So I'm in California, so you need to give your full address, especially if you're listening in from another country. So in light of the riots that hit our capital this week, I thought, love would be an appropriate topic. Unconditional love and compassion have many, many benefits, and they help us expand our consciousness. So out of the I, me, myself obsession into something a little bit more expansive, and I like to think of humankind as a highly evolved species. And I know we are capable of great things, but I think about what happened this week here in the United States, and I reflect on what's been happening in the last year, like the incident with George Floyd, where an innocent man was basically suffocated to death. It makes me start to really question, whether we're as involved as I would like to think we are. And we created electricity, rapid fire communication through the internet, electric cars that drive themselves, flights to the moon. But I think that my personal feeling is that although technology has enabled us and empowered us in a lot of ways, it's also created some leaks or holes, if you will, in our social fabric. And I think it's important for us to do what we can to see what we can do to restore that. And it's funny, we can do these complicated things, but the simplest emotion of which is love seems to be a very difficult thing for us to accomplish. So by nature, we are all human beings are tribal, and so we're meant to be in groups. And with some people putting so much emphasis on texting and emails and social media, the idea of actually acting on a personal level seems to get lost. And for me, I do feel that. I mean, there's a tremendous gap. I do see there's some comments here, so I'm just going to take a quick look. Hold on for a second. And oh, hi, Sabina. Good morning. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you too. And thank you very much for the compliments. So so let's dive into a little bit more. So if you think about it, how is it that, another thing I was contemplating on, it's like in light of all the things again that happened in our capital this week, how is it that so many people can profess love, experience love when they're in their, for example, in your house of worship, and then the minute they leave, or maybe not even the minute they leave, the judgment starts to come in about the neighbor or the person who was in church next to them or whatever. And there's this disconnect, our actions need to really come into alignment with our basic human principles. We really are too busy judging, hating, taking care of me, I, mine, and seeing the differences instead of the commonalities. And if we all loved, there really would be no judgment. But when we have fear about another person or doing something that we want to do, that feeds the division, not only on the outside, but on the inner me, on the inner person. So like it or not, whatever happens, especially now, if you think about the world, if there's a wave that strikes on one shore of an emotion, it's not just isolated to any single country, so the effects of everything surpass that, and they kind of go global. There's a ripple effect, there's a ripple effect on if we take that down to the personal, if we have a negative thought or a judgment about somebody else, that energetically ripples across and it spreads, and just like if we do something positive, that ripples across and it spreads. One of my teachers used to tell the story of, just to think about this, what if the difference between you get on the bus, the bus driver is grumpy, he's mean to you, maybe rude, whatever, you go sit down in your seat. Now you feel a little bit agitated. Maybe you were peaceful when you got on the bus. And then all of a sudden what happens is you get off now and you're a little bit more irritable, a little bit more on edge, and somebody bumps into you. And now you kind of jump back at that person. And then that ripples down to that person now is angry, upset, irritated. Maybe they go to the next person and they pass along that anger, judgment, whatever, to the next person. Maybe they bump into them. Maybe they're just shorter with them. And versus you get on the bus driver goes, oh, wow, I'm so happy you came with me today. I'm so excited. Oh, I love it when people get on my bus. And now you feel great, right? You feel affirmed. And now you want to be friendly to the next person on the bus. And then when that person leaves the bus, they're going to be friendly with the next person. Well, it's like that with everything that we do, on an energetic level. And if you think about how global we are, all we have to do is look at COVID and how quickly that has spread around the globe, right? It's not like it stops at a certain boundary, because it knows, okay, I shouldn't leave the United States, right? Or I shouldn't leave Great Britain or whatever. So this is also happening around the world with things that are not so obvious. If you think about, what's going on a global perspective. So again, looking at the bigger perspective, look at what's happening. We have rising sea levels, we have glaciers melting, we have animals going extinct, climate change, heat waves, and droughts, wildfires, and hurricanes, that were not happening before. And again, this goes back to, because we're all like, okay, well, it doesn't matter what I do in my little space, because that's not going to impact everybody else. But that's not true. That's not true. So thank you for that, Sabina. I see that. I see your post. I'm going to put that up. So, okay. So we have to move away from the point of me going off on this little rant here, is that we have to move away from the idea of I and mine, so that we still have a planet and a healthy population generations and years from now. And when people don't know how to take personal responsibility for their life or their feelings, and they don't have the tools to understand and manage their emotions, they act out in ways that are harmful to others. And that's a level of consciousness. It really is about being conscious about of we do and how that impacts everybody else. It's not whether somebody sees it or not, or feels it or not in that moment. There is an impact whether you realize it or not. So I'm calling on you to end hate for good. That's really what I want to accomplish. And there was this very wise man, J. Krishnamurti. I don't know if you've heard about him, but he once said that we have no love. And I thought that was a very severe statement to make. And I'm like, what do you mean we have no love? I'm in love with my husband. I have pets that I love at the time, whatever. I have girlfriends that I love. But he went on to say that something like, we have sentiment, we have emotionality, we have sensuality, we have sexuality, we have remembrances of something which we thought of as love, but actually, brutally, we have no love. Because to have love means that we would have no violence.
I'm having trouble.
That's funny. No violence, no fear, no competition, no ambition. Because when there's love, there is peace, because you would educate your children, in a different way. Not, your children wouldn't be educated, say, as a nationalist, or not to have a technical job, or look after their petty affairs. They would be more serving to the community. So if he went on to say that we would have no nationality, there would be no divisions of religion. But these things do actually exist, not theoretically. So that proves his case that we have no love. But I was thinking about, I'm looking at, John Lennon's song, and where he sings the song Imagine. And I don't have the lyrics here in front of me, but it just popped up in my head. Imagine there's, you'll have to play it for yourself, but it kind of popped up into my head. So how would our world change if we live by the principles of love? What would that be? And how would it be different if we felt truly loved? And the world would be really a different place, right? So brings us to our topic today, is how do we cultivate self-love? I'm getting there, but at first I want to take a moment to ask you to think about someone who could use some more love. And if you've got somebody that popped into your head, please share my link with them today for womenshealthrevolutiontv.com. They can go there and watch this live stream, so they can tune into this broadcast and get the benefit. And please subscribe. This is it's a new show, relatively new show still. We've only done about 4 shows. So the purpose of the show is to give all women and female entrepreneurs the resources that they need to create a life that's in alignment with their soul, their purpose, and help them develop the skills, the self-love, the belief, and motivation they need to succeed, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. It's a big goal. And I want to thank those of you that are commenting. So nice of you. Whether it's, yes, Sabina, true. Whether it's negative or positive, we spread our energy around, and that has a ripple effect on others. Exactly. So when you think about it, what is the biggest thing that gets in the way of self-love? What do you think? If you have an idea about that today, just post it in the chat so I can see it. From the time that I know that for me, my biggest issues around loving myself, a lot of them they're definitely things that I had an experience in my life, maybe multiple experiences, and based on those experiences, I made certain decisions. And because I made those decisions, they became a kind of a rule in my brain, in my ego. And then what happens is I start to literally, because my brain believes that to be true, it becomes a magnetic resonance that attracts more of that kind of experience to me. So if you have the belief that, say, women hurt me, for example, and you get hurt by your mom, you get hurt by a friend, when you're young and impressionable, and this sticks in your mind. And this literally becomes it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, because it's literally a magnetic resonance that attracts more of the same. So part of our task here on the planet is to work our way through these things, let them go, take a look at them, figure out how do we shift that? I'm going to talk about that today, so that we can experience a fully realized life. We are here to experience love, joy, and we all have individual gifts and messages that we are supposed to bring to the world, and a lot of us don't know that. So I'm gonna, and love is definitely the cure. And Sabina, I just want to tell you right now, I am gonna, because of your, participation already this morning, I'm gonna send you a free essential oil. So I want to thank you for, contributing so far enthusiastically to this broadcast. So anybody else, please, the more you participate, the more gifts I can give away. And I have a whole stack here on my desk waiting for you guys. So let's talk about this. So from the time that we're in the womb, we're sensitive to thoughts, energies, and vibrations. And these, whether we realize it or not, what our mother is going through at the time that she's carrying us in the womb, even at conception, impacts us on a very subconscious level, I believe. And it's my experience as a healer, because I don't get into this too much in the show, but I'm able to put my hands on people and read what's happened a little bit. It's like, for me, it's like looking through a history book. And what happens is there'll be certain places that in the history book where there's a pause on the chapter. And the chapter gets a little bit stronger than, say, another chapter that might have just gone by us really quickly. So when we are sensitive to these vibrations, we start to make decisions already before we've even come out of the womb, right? And there's good things that happen there, and then there's things that are not good. We make decisions based on even how we came out of birth. For example, I had one person that I worked on. He was born with the cord around his neck. And as we got into doing his healing work, how that affected him later on was he believed that he was wrong as a boy, So we had to work with him about his thoughts around that. So when we have these thoughts that get lodged in us, what it does is it creates stress in the body and the mind. And stress is a huge responsibility. It's hugely responsible for a lot of the diseases and cancers and things that we suffer from as we go forward in life. Those things don't just happen overnight. It's a process of the tissue changing and morphing over a period of years. And then finally it shows up as something. So you want to get to these things early and try to deal with these thoughts now. And the way that we do that is we really focus on self-love. So there are ways to do this. I do lead workshops on using your brain profile to reduce stress, but I'm actually going to give you some fantastic tips that you can actually work with today. And I have some notes here I'm looking at. So if you see me look down once in a while, it's because there's a lot here I want to get across. So let's talk about the 4 pillars today of self-love. So this is some life-changing stuff here. So even if you think you know it, I urge you to listen really closely as if you may be hearing it for the first time, okay? And take some notes. So the first thing is self-awareness. The first step, the first pillar is self-awareness. We have to become aware of what is really us and what isn't really us, okay? What do I mean by that? We get a lot of thoughts in our brain that make us think we're somebody that we're not, or make us think that we're less than we are, or make us think that we're ugly when we're pretty, or make us think we can't speak when we can speak, or you get the idea, right? So when we are first born, it is the beginning of the ego. And the ego is just when we first separate, because when we're first in our mother's womb, it's like we're at one with the universe, right? It's that beautiful, peaceful feeling that there's no judgment, there's no anything. It's just this open, beautiful, fluid environment. And then what happens is, as we're born, we come out into the world, and sometimes that's a kind of a dramatic experience. For example, the difference between being born at home or a warm water birth versus coming out in a hospital where there's bright lights, loud noises, after being in this beautiful, sacred environment with our mothers. So once we leave the womb, it's our first, we feel, when we're in the womb, we feel connected to source. And to us at that time, our mother is literally is God to us, really. And then we come out, and a radical experience when the umbilical cord is cut, Now we've been separated from source for the first time in our life. And now what happens is some part of us that goes, oh, well, I have to make some decisions here about how to survive. So the entire job at this time is when the ego is born, and the entire job of the ego is to protect you. And in order to do that, it has to keep you in the familiar territory and keep you in what it knows. So if you came out of the womb, and let's just talk about your first experience of change. You come out, let's just say a fairly normal birth, maybe in a hospital. They lift you out, they put you in a cloth that feels a little bit rough because you've been in a liquid environment. They're trying to be careful with holding you, but maybe the nurse is nervous or whatever. So you're feeling all that vibration. And then they a lot of times take you upside, smack at you for the first time. So that's your first experience of change. Coming out of this beautiful liquid environment, feeling connected to God and source, now to having the umbilical cord cut, being wiped off with sort of a rough towel, and being smacked on the back. So what happens is we now start to make some decisions about change. Now we do everything we can to keep ourselves from changing in every way we can. So as we start to move, when you start to go into self-love, you're moving from the familiar to the unfamiliar. When you start to do that, we start to have these guard rats come up and keep us in the familiar, trying to keep us there. So for example, for me, very scary to come on and do a broadcast by myself. I'll just be completely honest. And so, all of these doubts started coming up last minute before I went on the air. Can I do this? Do I even have enough material to talk for an hour? But the truth is, I have tons here. And I just had to make a decision to do it a little bit differently. So so as we move from the familiar environment to the unfamiliar, we have to, in order to go to self-awareness and handle that first pillar of self-love, we have to start to develop self-awareness means we're also raising our emotional intelligence about ourselves. We starting to learn about our feelings, our body, what's going on inside, who we really are. What are the things that are keeping us from who we really are? So most people are out of touch with their emotions. They feel the extreme ones like anger and joy, but not the shades in between. So there's 3 categories of emotions. When you think in emotional theory, there's physiological, which means it's a body sensation. There's cognitive, which means it's mental. And there's neurological, meaning that your nerves are receiving information. I'm just going to check and see if there's any more comments here. Hold on a second. Okay, we're good. Okay, you guys hanging in there with me so far? So neurological theory suggests that all emotions are the result of our brain activities. Cognitive theories explain that our emotions, we connect through our brain. There's 6 basic emotions: anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise. So, but when you think about it, there's all these shades in between. There's actually at least 27 different kinds of feelings. And you may not be aware of all of them. Let me give you a list of okay, so the most recognized emotions are anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise. Now, here's some other ones that we don't think about too often, but these are shades of those, right? Sympathy, triumph, desire, awe, calmness, confusion, and horror. So what happens is when we have these familiar things that happen in our life and they keep recycling, we start to identify with those thoughts. And the truth is you're not your thoughts and you're not your body, right? So according to the National Science Foundation, the average person has between 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And of those, 80% of them are negative and 95% of them are repetitive. So you'd be surprised how many thoughts you have and have learned to believe that are not really yours. And again, from the time that we are in the womb to now, we're constantly absorbing ideas, beliefs, thoughts from other people, not just mom and dad, but brothers, sisters, teachers, and coaches. So here's your first action step. And this might seem a little bit hard, but it's not. It might be a little difficult at the beginning. I want you to become the observer of your thoughts. I want you to take a look see if you can look at yourself, you outside of yourself. That's your true nature. So, but our thoughts and beliefs get in the way. So a lot of times we can't see that. So first, here's how you do it. You start to ask this question. And this is a list of questions you can ask. And I would get your pen out if you don't have it. First, you must ask, who am I? What motivates me? What do I love? I'm probably going too fast. What excites you? What angers you? And what saddens you? Did you get those questions? When you can ask those, you start to get a sense of who you really are, because those things are real to you, right? The things that motivate you, the things that make you happy, the things that excite you, those are things, when you make that list and you start to actually write it down, not just think it, it really helps because you can start to focus in on who you actually are. And this raises your self-awareness. And now you can start to become more aware of when things don't feel quite right. Like when who you are is out of sync, that's when you start to get these emotions. So let's look at the next step, which is pillar number 2. Pillar number 2 is finding your core values. So for those of you who are on, I would love to see you post about your core values. What are your core values? So I'll tell you some of mine. Actually, let me define what they are. So core values are like your true north. They influence your decisions and your actions, and they help you align to what's important to you. They're the foundation in knowing that you're living your purpose because they remind us and others of who we truly are. So what are some of your core values? Mine are fun, integrity, connection, joy, love, empowerment. Let me see if anybody's posted any of theirs. Thank you so much, Sabina, for the kind comments. I'm just wonderful, and I appreciate the encouragement. I just put that up on the screen. Thank you. So anyway, what are your core values? And I'd love to see people post their core values. If you haven't done that, please do that. And if you don't want to share, that's okay, but just write them down for yourself. I know some people will watch this show later on. Okay, so what's the second pillar? The second pillar is self-acceptance. So this is kind of, I think, the place where a lot of us get hung up, right? Self-acceptance. So sometimes when you start to examine yourself more closely and you're starting to track about what's going on in your mind and your thoughts, you may not like everything that you see. And now, again, some of those things that you believe may or may not be real. For example, I won't say any names, but I have okay, I'll just say one of my brothers, when I was a kid, he used to say some very unkind things to me. And it's funny, as an adult, I went to him and I said, these are some things you said to me when I was a kid. And he absolutely denied it. He doesn't remember saying the things, but, he would call me ugly, right? Or ugly piece of shit. That was actually what he called me. So, and that was a part of me, actually. I know people see me as confident and they see me as, whatever, they have perceptions, but they don't see the part of me that's had to overcome the belief that got in my head, because my brother said it, and probably in his mind it was funny at the time, or maybe he heard it from somebody else and he was just playing, because we were younger. But what happened to me was there was a part of me that actually believed that. So over time, I got to a place where I really felt like I needed to hide, myself from other people, right? So you might want to think about some of the beliefs that you've taken on as real that may or may not be. And thank you. And really examine, whether those things are real. I'm going to tell you another story about self-acceptance. So, and what I learned. So when I was in high school, there was an opportunity to apply for a scholarship. Now, I'll tell you something about me. When I was a lot younger, and I still do, love languages, right? When I was in junior high school, I had learned Russian. And then when I went into, and I did really well at Russian. I don't remember most of it now. I can remember 3 or 4 words. And then in high school, I actually went on to study French and Spanish. And I loved those were probably those and choir were my favorite classes. So when I went there was an opportunity to win a scholarship to go out of the country and study. And so I applied. I didn't tell anybody. I applied for this scholarship. I didn't tell my mom and dad. I didn't tell my brothers. I didn't tell my best friends. And what happened was I won the scholarship. And I was friggin' shocked. I mean, I never expected that would happen. But what was interesting was, and it was an opportunity to go out of the country and live in Peru. So when I was really excited, I came home and I told my parents, hey, I won this great scholarship. I've been picked to go out of the country and study. At that point, we didn't know which country I would be going to. And my parents' immediate reaction was, you are not going. They didn't say, yay, congratulations, we're so excited and proud of you. They went, you're not going. It took the counselors at my school to actually intervene on my behalf to get my parents to let me go. And I did actually end up going and living in Peru for quite a while, in Cusco. But what else happened for me, which was really interesting, is one of my friends who was one of my best friends at the time, got really angry at me, and it actually almost cost us our friendship. She was mad. She'd already won, like, I don't know, president of the class and, you know, some really prestigious things. But when I felt, you know, here she was angry and jealous that I had won something and that she felt she was entitled to. So I had basically two very strong messages from people saying, you know, disapproving of me winning something or being recognized. And even to this day, it's really funny, with when I've won awards and things like that, there's always something a little bit, you know, there's a little bit off about the energy around it. It's interesting. And I've been choosing to clear that up. I'm working on that. But the question is, what are some of the experiences that happened to you that you didn't think about, and how are they impacting you today? What were the decisions that you made as a result of that? I worked very hard to with my friend to try to work through whatever their differences there were between us around that. And it was, the trip to Peru was actually fabulous. It was a life-changing experience for me. And I still remember, I have some great memories from that time and how it impacted me. So, I'm just seeing some more posts here about, all right, yes. Thank you for sharing, Sabina, your values, authenticity, kindness, integrity, and joy and love. Those are great values. And I think that if we don't know what our values are, it's really hard to stay on our track and where we're supposed to go. So again, going back to, once you've established the values, you've started to look at whatever thoughts are going through your mind as a witness. Now it's working on self-acceptance and even self-forgiveness, because the truth is that I'm the one who made the decision to hold on to those experiences in my memory, right? And I'm the one who interpreted them in a way that I interpreted them. They were very, very, very traumatic to me at the time. And I had to make a decision to move into forgiveness and acceptance that, I made certain decisions as a result of those experiences that held me back. Like, even now I see that, I'm choosing to look at myself on a regular basis. And I find things where I go, wow, I didn't know I still believed that, or I didn't know I still felt that way. And so but as a conscious adult who's choosing to be aware and make changes, I take those thoughts and beliefs and I start to remold them. And, and I also start to collect evidence. And this is really, really important, that the opposite is true, right? That I do deserve to win, for example, or that I am beautiful and attractive. And so, and that helps when you have other people around you. It's like raising the vibration happens when you get a better tribe around you, a tribe of people and a community. And so, and again, I'm choosing to have a large global community with Women's Health Revolution of women who are like-minded. So, if you want to be part of that revolution, please subscribe to my channel, so that you can help me grow this and turn it into something bigger and better. So going back to self-acceptance, I think that's probably the hardest step. And I think that most of us are much more compassionate toward others than we are towards ourselves. So how do you shift a negative, repetitive thought into something positive? So the best thing is, I said, is taking small steps. That's one thing. You can start with changing. I talk in my workshops about the power of language. choosing your language a little bit more consciously, right? Instead of saying, this always happens to me, or this is to die for, watch what's coming out of your mouth, because your subconscious and your body and every part of you is hearing that. So you're reinforcing the vibration. But if you simply make some word changes that are more conscious, the idea of saying I won't instead of I can't, for example. Because a lot of times it's about us saying, oh, I won't do it. On some level, we're choosing ourselves, out of some situation. And we're the ones who limit. It's, yes, there are forces from the outside coming in from the universe, but those are a reflection of the vibration that's going on the inside. So if you can relate to this, please do post something in the comment. But small steps are really empowering. And for example, say you want to write a book, but you don't believe you're a good enough writer, or whatever, whatever thoughts you have. Maybe you feel like you're not fluent enough in a language or something. But you take a step, write an article, right? Something small, write a blog post. And start to grow that, and over time, you'll see that you start to get reinforcement for the positive and the good that you've accomplished. So, all right, next, seek positive experiences and embrace your values and make a decision to shift. Like, this is no longer acceptable. Now, I want to talk about making a decision to shift briefly. I want to dwell on that, because that, I think, is also a big challenge. Sometimes we think we've made a decision to do something and we really haven't. For example, how many times have you made a New Year's resolution to change something? And where were you? What happened to you 2 to 3 weeks after you made your resolution? Right? You lost the conviction, the momentum. It doesn't mean that you lost the desire, but somehow the desire just doesn't have the same strength behind it. So what do you do to pump up that desire? Well, for me, what's sometimes I've just had to look back and just take, again, an honest inventory of myself and go, this is not acceptable. I'm not happy with me doing this particular activity or whatever, and I need to change it. And I have to get angry enough. That's to want to shift. That's one thing where there's a cost to me holding myself back. Another thing that's worked for me is just going, okay, what's the thing that is motivating me to want this? Like, and how bad is that? How big is that motivational piece? For example, I have dealt with battles over my weight on and off for years, right? And I just hit this wall again where I just went, with COVID, I gained some weight like a lot of other people. And I just went, what? Enough. I'm done, right? So I made a decision to get back on track and take action steps, small action steps. It started with a little bit of yoga a couple times a week, and actually it was walking. Then I added back my yoga practice. Now I'm up to, yoga 4 times a week and walking, 3 or 4 times a week. And also just going, okay, what are some of the foods that crept back into my world that were not here during pre-COVID? So taking those foods out of the house, right? So we don't have them anymore. So because my value, it's important to me and valuable to me to want to be healthy. That's important. And I wish to continue to maintain that. So one of my sayings that I have is choice is a choice. We have to make a choice, and making a choice is a choice. And it's a constant process of choosing and choosing and choosing over and over again to make, a shift in the right direction. Say you have a dream of, having your own TV show or your own radio show. take the small steps, start to research what are the platforms that you can put it on. Now don't get too bogged down in the how. You really want to focus on, the thing that you want to accomplish, and the other pieces will start to show up. I have this, I was having trouble with my website, and I haven't worked it all out yet, but I want to tell you something kind of funny that happened to me. So I actually made an affirmation on a card, and the affirmation said something like, I don't remember it exactly, but I attract the perfect people to support me with ease with technical challenges for my business. Something along those lines. I think I made it much simpler than that. And, within a week of me doing that affirmation every day, I was referred to somebody who I think is going to be the right guy. And we've actually just moved into an agreement there. So I'm kind of excited about that. Anyway, so back to choice. It's always about choosing. Okay. So what I like you to do is imagine someone in your mind. Think of somebody that you really admire, and a list of their qualities that you would like to embody. Now, I have a mentor. One of my mentors is Marilla Sula, and she has some great qualities. And so I've made a list of some of those qualities that I want to embody with what I do. So pick, for example, she's always enthusiastic. She's positive. She gives great stories that are meaningful to people. And she really cares, and she's a great businesswoman, right? Those are all, qualities that I wish to embody in me. All right. The fourth pillar is self-love. So we're now moving on. So as we choose to grow good qualities, we need to make some changes in our daily routine. And I talked about this a little bit. So how do you do self-love? That's doing things that on the outside that help bring love on the inside. For me, like I said, yoga, getting a massage, getting facials, making a luxury bath at home, and for me, another thing that is self-love for me is actually sitting and playing my harmonium, which is a musical instrument that I play. So in addition to that, working on your affirmations. So affirmations are positive statements. You can put them on a card and you just review them every day. Look through them. And just when in the morning after you, as part of your routine, before you get into your day, you just read them over and over again out loud. And these are particularly helpful if you have a little fun with how your brain works. So what I like to do is kind of make a little bit of a joke out of some of my affirmations. So for example, one of my thoughts in my life has been that I'm not doing enough, and when I started looking at that more closely, it was just that I'm not enough, period. It wasn't just I'm not doing enough. It was, I'm not putting in enough energy here. I'm not doing enough towards this friendship. I'm not doing enough towards my business, that kind of thing, right? So what I started to do was work with, I forgive myself for believing that I'm not enough, or it's okay for me to pretend that I'm not enough, right? So that my mind goes, it's not real. Those beliefs are not real, and you are doing enough. And I also have affirmations just straight, like I am doing enough. Okay, what I do is always enough. But so once you do your affirmations, and there's tons of books on that. If you need help on that, probably the best thing would be you can write to me about it. But you might want to consider coming to one of my workshops. I'm not promoting one right now, but just down the road, keep an eye on them. So the next thing is gratitude. So now you're going to start to, because remember, wherever you put your focus is going to expand. So it's good to make a daily practice of listing some of the things that you're grateful for. And sometimes people go, oh, I don't have anything. I'm like, well, I just start with really simple stuff. Right now, I am so grateful I have a roof over my head, that I have heat, I have food to eat, I have a pair of shoes to wear outside that are very comfortable. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be these big things, but from the little kernels, the big things grow. So now, going forward on your journey, there's three things that that you need to nourish, right? After we've done all these other pieces of work, and these are repetitive, the self awareness, the self acceptance, self love, even self forgiveness probably should be listed as one of the pillars. You're going to be doing this all the time, because it's like the more you, if you think of about a glass of water, this is a great analogy, okay, and you start to pour. Actually, I'm sorry, reverse that. Think about a glass of iced tea, right? And it's dark, really dark tea that's been really well brewed. And what you're going to do, you're going to start adding clear water into the iced tea, right? So the more you add the clear water, the more the tea starts to lose its potency, right? It gets clearer and clearer and clearer. Well, this is what happens with our process as we start to work through these beliefs that we have about ourselves, and we start to have self-awareness and move forward. So you want to, there's going to be always things that are coming up that you want to work on, and I don't want to turn this into a struggle. But what happens is a lot of times people get stuck in their story, which holds them back. And so their story is the stuff they believed for years and years and years about themselves, or how they got wounded, and this is causing them to still be this way. And again, this goes back to making a decision, right? You have to constantly make decisions. Okay, that's not going to limit me anymore. I forgive myself for letting that limit me, and now I'm ready to let it go, right? And that might take some repetition. It usually does, right? But then going forward, now you need to nourish your body, your mind, and your soul. So we talked about the mind and the body, but how do you nourish your soul, right? So I see there's a comment here about sanctuaries to have roof over the head and bed for restful sleep. So yes, I'm grateful for that. So sanctuary. So we talked about the mind and the body. So how do you nourish the soul? So here are some things that I do. At first, this is a little bit, I'll be honest, I like to write, but I'm not a big fan of journaling, right? But what I noticed is when I sit down and I actually give myself permission to journal, like, stuff comes out, right? These great nuggets happen, because we are ultimately, very evolved beings when we are to get rid of all this noise, garbage, and connect to our higher self. So you journal and answers come through, but it also gives you an opportunity to see the limiting things that you're holding on to still, so you can let go of them. So journaling is a way to nourish the soul. Meditation is a way to nourish the soul. Prayer is a way to nourish the soul. Singing, for me, helps me nourish my soul. So when we talk about the 4 pillars of creating self-love, it's basically about creating a self-care system that takes all of you into account. So I want to encourage you to try new things and see what nourishes you the most. Like maybe, yes, affirmations are very powerful. I see that post. So life is, a journey, and not how fast you get there. It's truly about the climb. And this is all about creating a healthy relationship with you. But as you have a healthier relationship with your inside, you'll notice that what starts to happen is you attract more people around you who are like-minded. There's I'm sure, you've heard the saying, your vibe is your tribe. Maybe you haven't, but if you're remembering a story a long time ago, and this really stuck with me, and I think I read it in one of the books or something. It was the idea that if you're hanging out with 5 people and 4 of them are broke, where do you think you're going to go, right? If you're hanging out with 4 people and 4 of them don't know their purpose in life, where are you going to go? You might get lost along the way. But if you start to raise your vibe and go hang out with people that are already are good. They already good business builders. They have good self-esteem. Or people like you want to change your body and get more fit. You hang out with people that do, more fitness oriented activities like, yoga or walking, or maybe it's running or going to the gym. The more you start to surround yourself with people who also want similar things to what, or maybe represent the things that you want to be, the more you're going to start to develop those qualities, the more you're going to nurture them. So I know that if I think back, I wanted to, yes, you are what the people are around you. That's absolutely true. Thank you. Rema. Oh, Rema, good to see you on here. Yeah, it's really important because when we think about it, we are so influenced by the people around us. And when I started to want to I thought about writing a book, right? And what was interesting for me is the first book that I wrote was I'd always thought, oh, I want to write a book, but I didn't have an idea of what the book was going to be or whatever. But I had this thing percolating in me. It was a desire starting to grow. And then what happened one day was I was at an event and I woke up. I was actually demonstrating a new makeup line that didn't have any chemicals in it or whatever. And what was funny was I didn't know anything about the makeup line, right? I had invited 10 people to learn about it with me. I didn't realize that I was hosting a table, and I didn't realize that I actually should, that I was going to be expected to lead my group through how to put on makeup. And I have to tell you that I used to wear a lot of makeup when I was in Hollywood, all the time for my work. But as I got more into my life as a healer, makeup kind of went by the wayside, and I sort of forgot, how to apply it. I don't think that I ever really knew anyway. I never had lessons, never thought about it really. It wasn't the days of YouTube where you would just go on and learn how to do everything. So what happened was I hosted this event, and there were women that came in there. There were some women sitting at my table that I had invited, and they were exquisite. They had already beautiful makeup on. They seemed to know what they were doing. And suddenly they were all asking me about what they should do, what colors they should pick for their, because I was the person hosting the table. So fortunately, there was a woman, we're going to run out of time here. But anyway, there was a woman there at the table who was a makeup artist, and she helped me, with the people's questions. But I have to tell you, at 3:00 in the morning, I woke up knowing I had to write a book about how to put on makeup, how to take care of your skin. And the book just flowed once I decided to write it. I'll actually show you the book. This is it. It's called The 10-Minute Face. And you can actually get this up on Amazon. So anyway, I just want to say that, anything's possible. You just have to make a decision to move forward in whatever it is that you have a desire to do, or just put the intention out there, and over time it will percolate until it erupts. And now, since the 10-Minute Face, now I have a best-selling book, Women in the Modern Business World, a blueprint on how to lead yourself to a better life. And I am the first chapter in this book. And if you haven't seen it, it might be interesting for you to read. So I hope you will share this channel with other people. Let me know what you think about the broadcast. We'll be sending out those gifts. I have to look through the rest of the comments, and you will get a notification from me. Most of the people that are here, I think I know you. If you haven't, I have to look through the chat, more carefully. But it looks like we have 2 winners. So we have Rima and Sabina, who are going to both win prizes, and I'll be sending those off to you ladies in the mail. I want to thank you for posting comments, because that's how the show survives. And I invite you back in 2 weeks to see the next episode of Women's Health Revolution. I will post about what the topic is going to be. I hope to see you there. If you have friends, that you think would benefit from this show, I would love for you to share my link with them. Don't up as you subscribe to womenshealthrevolutiontv.com. If you want to write to me, you can write to me at carla@womenshealthrevolution.com. I'm going to put a crawl against the bottom here so you can see that. The books are both available on Amazon. And also, for those of you who are looking for a little bit more help with your emotions that you're stuck with and thoughts like that, I do offer emotion code sessions where I can actually identify and release trapped thoughts and emotions that are holding you back. Those are done in private sessions, so feel free to reach out to me. All right, well, thank you so much for attending today, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. You all have a great week. Make a difference out there. That's what we're here for. We all have gifts. We just have to show them to the world. So I bless you all, and I wish you an amazing, amazing week. All right, this is me signing off.
At work, I was constantly feeling anxious.
But I'm feeling much stronger and clearer about it all.
For me, one of the many aha moments was how to breathe.